Sir, shall we start, sir?
Yes, sir, we can proceed.
Okay, sir. A warm good morning to one and all who present here. On behalf of PSNA College of Engineering and Technology and Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, we welcome you all for the Day 3, Session 1 of Atal-sponsored online 5 days faculty development program on perspectives of blockchain integrated with IoT, challenges and opportunities. I also extend my welcome to today's resource person, Dr. Shweta Agarwal ma'am, Professor CSC, Sage University, Indore, Madhya Pradesh, India. I welcome you, ma'am. Now, I kindly request Dr. S. Vijay Prasad, sir, Associate Professor ECE, to give intro about today's resource person. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I once again welcome our chief guest for this wonderful occasion today. Dr. Shweta Agarwal is an academician and an enthusiastic researcher with more than 17 years of teaching experience. She is performing her duties as a professor in Computer Science Engineering Department at Sage University, Indore. She is also the co-convener of R&D Cell, President Institute Innovation Cell, and Chairperson Departmental Academic Committee of Sage University. She is a coordinator of national-wide project for AI skill and research. She is also selected as a brand ambassador for Women in Data Science (WIDS) community, an initiative of Stanford University. 8 PhD scholars are pursuing PhD under her able guidance. She has guided more than 25 PG and 75 UG students for their project work. And we are also very much astonished to see that she has received the Best Teaching Award, Art Panthan Award, and Work of Excellence Award at university level. Great, ma'am. She published many research papers in ACI, Scopus, and peer-reviewed journals and conferences. She has delivered many expert talks and chaired conference sessions at university and national level. She has published 4 national patents and many copyrights also. She has coordinated and received funding for many national and state level FDPs and conferences, etc. Her areas of interest are distributed computing, machine learning, IoT, and deep learning. So it's a great pleasure to have such a wonderful person for our FDP. Once again, thank you for accepting our invitation, and the day is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Now you can share your screen, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Okay. The PTs are visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, a very warm good morning to all the
Make a
participants.
full screen, ma'am.
Yes, I have. It is in full screen only.
No, ma'am. We are getting in PPT mode only, ma'am.
Okay, I am again sharing actually.
Ma'am, you can share the entire screen, ma'am, so that you will
Yes.
have the.
Yes. Okay. Share your entire screen. Okay, now full screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, first of all, I am a very good morning to all the participants and organizers. I am very pleased to be the part of this FDP on perspectives of blockchain integrated with IoT, challenges and opportunities, organized by PSNA College of Engineering and Technology. And the topic of my session is Introduction to Internet of Things. I am Dr. Shweta Agrawal, Professor Computer Science Engineering at Sage University, Indore. And this is the mail ID. So, as our topic of discussion is introduction of Internet of Things, so the very first concept that we have to understand about what is IoT. So, the Internet of Things can be described as the network of physical objects. Object can be anything or device that should be embedded with sensors, softwares, and network technologies for the purpose of connecting and exchanging data with other devices and system over the internet. In other words, we can understand this concept by it is the network of devices which are interconnected for performing some task. Actually, IoT is becoming a cutting edge technology and attracting the interest of many researchers and industries for finding the solutions of real world problems. There are n number of applications of IoT, and there are almost all domains which affect the humankind, where IoT has been implemented, or some kind of IoT projects are getting involved. These are some use cases or some applications where IoT is being used or can be used. For example, IoT can be used for smart cities. IoT is being used for smart buildings, smart home. Then for energy management, IoT is being used in healthcare also, and in mobility applications also. So whenever we talk about smart city, every authority of city wants to make their city smart. The meaning of smart word is that we want a kind of automation. We want a kind of intelligent automation between activities. Whenever we talk about smart city, means we want to automate the activities which are being executed in a particular city. So some applications of those activities are like fire safety. How can we embed fire safety with the help of IoT? Actually, with the help of sensors, we can sense the fire, and alarm can be generated whenever there is a fire occurred, and the concerned persons like fire brigade, police, or the person who has that property can be informed with the help of IoT solutions. Even when we talk about automation, so there may be some system that in the case of fire, automatically fire extinguishers can be released, or some water sprinkles can be started. So IoT can play a very important role in fire safety. Now, when we talk about pollution, so pollution can, for controlling the pollution, we have to install the sensors on vehicles, on factories, or on all the objects where from where the pollution can be generated. And we can set a range of pollution, and if that particular factory or device is crossing that range, then some alarming action can be taken. In case of flood, so on the basis of weather data, the flooding alarms can be generated, and it can be informed to the concerned peoples who can be affected with the floods. And after flood also, for managing disaster situations, IoT solutions can be used. IoT solutions can be used for proper distribution of food, proper distribution, arrangement of relief camps. So all these things can be handled with the help of IoT solutions. Now, in medical emergency, actually, the IoT concepts has been utilized very widely in this COVID-19 pandemic. Many contactless devices has been developed with the help of IoT solutions, because the COVID-19 was spreading with the help of due to the contact. So there was need of devices which can work on contactless manner. So contactless thermometer, then blood pressure measuring device, then monitoring of patient with the help of some sensors. All these things has been utilized in this COVID-19 situation. Then for handling the problem of drinking water, for keeping it clean, for proper distribution of water, smart IoT solutions can be used. Waste treatment, actually, you may all be aware about that Indore won the Swachh City Award 4 times. So here in Indore, we are using lot of IoT solutions for waste treatment. The automatic segregation of waste with the help of IoT solutions is being used here, and because due to that only we can do the proper treatment of waste, we can do the proper recycling of the waste. Then management of wastewater, and the issues related to public can also be solved with the help of IoT solutions. Then when we come for buildings or smart home, So the first category here is the light. So how can we design? Hello. Uh, so smart light can be if we are entering into the room, the lights are getting on, and if we are exiting the room, our lights are getting off. And other case of smart lighting system, like we are out of town and we have set at the time for evening 2 hours, the light should be on, because it will confuse the thieves that there are some person in the home. So it will enhance the security of our house. So there may be many solutions of smart house or smart home also, which will enhance the distribution of water, proper management of water, or flow of water tanks. Then for power distribution, for climate control also we can use IoT solutions. As I have already discussed, that if we will control pollution, so air quality will definitely improve. Then it can be used in lifts for safety purpose also. In safety, we can install CCTV camera at our home to make it safe. We can use IR based digital locks, which can sense the person and can inform to the owner of the house that there is some uh, suspicious activities there. So all these things can be done with the help of IoT. Now in energy, there are a lot of solutions are being proposed. Solutions for smart grid, then for assessing solar and wind energy, for the proper distribution of solar and wind energy, IoT is being used. Then IoT is used for proper gas distribution, fuel distribution. So these are some applications which are being used in energy sectors also. Then in healthcare, again, we can give a wearable device to a particular patient, and with the help of that device, we can remotely monitor all the activities of that patient, like his blood pressure, his temperature, his heartbeat, and all other activities which may be disease specific also. So all those activities can be controlled with the help of IoT solutions. Then another good application of IoT in healthcare is that implants or automatic diffusion of drugs. So in many cases, the drugs can be automatically diffused to the patient at time to time. Then some surgical equipments are also using IoT solutions. It is being used in radiology, in mobile care, and for diabetes also. Now for mobility purpose, it is being used in for sensing traffic, for managing traffic. There could be smart traffic signals which can assess the traffic, and accordingly can switch on and can switch the signals red to green or green to red. So all these things are helping in environment also, because if there would be less traffic at a particular place, so there would be less pollution, less air pollution, and it will save money, time, and lives also. So there are n number of IoT solutions which are being implemented in all the sectors which we can feel that exist. So now how IoT works, what are the main components of IoT? So the very first and very basic component of IoT is thing or device, the thing that for which we are talking. For example, we want to automate we are talking about home safety. So here if we are installing CCTV camera, so here our thing is CCTV camera, which will capture the images of the person and will send information to the user. So thing is the main particular component where we want to take the data, from where we want to gather the data. Then we want in IoT, what we have to do, we have to send that data to the cloud. So for sending that data to the cloud, we need a gateway. Gateway is a device which will gather the data from this particular device and will convert it into the transmittable form and will send it to the cloud. Now at cloud, we will have a large amount of data which will be gathered from different IoT devices. So that data should be analyzed, because the purpose of IoT, one important purpose of IoT is to enhance business, to enhance user relax. So how it would be possible? It would be possible with the help of analytics. If you would be able to analyze the data in proper manner, and if you would be able to generate some good reference, then only that particular collected data would be useful. So the collected data would be analyzed. We will perform some analytics here, and then on the basis of that analysis, the user interface may be shown. At user interface, user can see the activities, what is happening with that particular device, or what activities are going on there. And even user can send some information also. User can send some action plan also with the help of this particular network. This is one architecture of IoT. We have one more architecture of IoT. Again, it is equipped with, the first stage is equipped with sensors and actuators. Sensors we use for sensing the environment, for gathering information from the sensors. As our body has sensors, our body has 5 senses, and with the help of those senses only we can take some information, and we can process that information and react according to that particular data. So in same way, for getting input from the devices, from physical objects, we need to embed some sensors in those devices, because without sensors that particular device cannot react, because those are dummy things, those are physical things. So we have to add some sensors which can sense the environments, and then for sending that the information, whatever we have gathered through sensors to the network, we need gateways, we need internet gateways, which will help in sending the information from gathered from sensors to the cloud. Now we have one more layer here, that is called edge layer. Now what is the significance of this layer? Earlier what was happening, all the data that we are gathering from this device will send to the cloud. Now in many of the applications, all the data that we are collecting from the devices is not very important, and it is not play a very important role in the analytics purpose. So what we can do, we can filter the data. We will send only that data which will be important for the analytics purpose. The another aspect of introducing this edge layer is that it will enhance the privacy of user also. For example, if you consider home automation system, so in home automation, the system record our all activities, at what time we wake up, at what time we take key, at what time we go to office, at what time we again come to home, at what time we go for sleep. So it is recording our all activities, and due to this we are losing our privacy. So, and this particular data is not very important for analytics purpose. So these kind of data that is not important for analytics purpose, and which is private to the user, can be filtered here, and the data that is only used for analytics purpose will be sent to the cloud. So it will reduce the network congestion also, because we will send only limited data to the cloud. We will not send all the data to the cloud. So this is called edge computing also. Here we are doing filtering of data, and we are doing some analytics and pre-processing at the device level only, and we will send only some important data to the cloud. Now, as we have already discussed that IoT consists the sensors. Sensors are devices which collect data from their environment. A particular device may have more than one sensor. So here we have used term sensors also. The example is that our cell phone, in that we have multiple sensors for gathering different kind of information. Then these are the types of some sensors, like temperature sensor, which can sense the temperature in environment, pressure sensor, which can sense the pressure, humidity, light intensity detectors. These sensors can detect the intensity of light. Then proximity detection. These sensors can detect an object even without contact also. Then RFID tags are also used for detecting some objects. So these are some sensors. Then gateways, the IoT gateways manages the bidirectional data traffic between different networks and protocols. So whatever information we are gathering from the sensor will go to the platform with the help of these sensors. The functions of gateway are to translate different network protocols, because whenever we are talking about sending data to the cloud, we need some sort of network protocols. So gateway manages these protocols. Then interoperability of the connected devices and sensors act as a middle layer between device and cloud, and pre-processing of the collected data. So all these pre-processing is, for example, the gathered data is not of a particular strength, it is very weak. So amplification can also be done here. Some kind of coding and decoding can be done here. So all this pre-processing is done at the gateway. The normally microcontroller devices are play the role of gateways, which should be embedded with some sort of network device like Node MCU, Arduino Uno, BagelBone Bag, then Raspberry Pi. These are some microcontrollers which are being used in IoT projects. Raspberry Pi is a very popular microcontroller which is very cheap and providing a lot of features which can be used to design a very good IoT project. Now the third component of our IoT architecture is cloud. So we all are aware that cloud computing is the on-demand availability of computer system resources, especially data storage and computing power, here without direct active management by the user. So at cloud, we have many data centers where the data gathered from IoT devices being stored. Then large clouds have functions distributed over multiple locations from central servers. If the connection to the user is relatively close, it may be designated an edge server. Okay, so we can filter some data at edge server also. There is no need to send all the data to the large clouds. Then we have some IoT platform also, which can be termed as IoT cloud. So these IoT cloud offer the facility like collect, process, manage, and store huge amount of data in real time. Industries and services can easily access this data remotely and make critical decisions when necessary. So clouds are storing data and performing some analytics that can be used for some particular industries for the decision making purpose. IoT cloud is a sophisticated high performance network of servers optimized to perform high speed data processing of billions of devices, traffic management, and deliver accurate analytics. So this is the diagram which is using network gateway, which is using sensors. It is showing the complete execution pattern of IoT. So here we have sensors which are embedded with devices. Here we have temperature sensor, humidity or moisture sensors. So the data through these sensors would be sent to the gateway. There may be different technology. There may be different communication networking technology for sending the data from sensors to the gateway, and then this data from gateway would be sent to the cloud with the help of Wi-Fi module or through the GPRS. And at gateway we may have different protocols also, like HTTP, MQTT, CoAP. These are the protocols which are used with IoT for sending data from gateway to the cloud. Now the fourth component that is related with IoT is analytics. So the analytics is the process of converting data from billions of smart devices and sensors into useful insights. And for this purpose we use artificial intelligence, we use machine learning or deep learning, because whenever we talk about machine learning, data is very important, because we can train machine only with the help of data, and IoT is generating huge amount of data. So IoT and AI ML works together, because with the help of IoT we are gathering data and we are doing analytics of the data and generating useful inferences. So smart analytics solutions are used for management and improvement of the entire system. Careful analysis will help organizations to predict trends in the market. As we all are aware that all online websites, online shopping websites are using this kind of analytics for understanding trends, for giving offers to you, for enhancing their business. And the last component that we have is user interface. So at user interface, we can check the activities of our device, what is going on there, as it is showing the temperature of a house. Like in kitchen it is at 1 degree, in living room it is 72 degrees. So this kind of user interface can be seen. Now we have many IoT platforms which can be used for connecting with internet. Only what we have to do, we have to configure that IoT platforms according to our device, and these are easy to use platforms. From these, Open Remote is freely available platform that can be used, and the other platforms give some trial period for free for some trial time, and then you have to pay some amount. So these are the cloud-based IoT platforms that can be used for IoT communication. Okay, now here I'm considering a use case for smart home, which is specifically designed for smart grid. Actually, here we are going to discuss in depth the smart grid technology. So here what we are considering, this is the energy source from where electricity will be distributed to the home. Now there is a smart meter. Smart meter means it will do calculation of the electricity power consumption on the basis of time also. Because what happens in developed countries, the electricity rates are different at different hours. It means at peak hours rate are different, at normal hours rate are different. So this is smart meter, and it will calculate the rates of electricity consumption on the basis of their uses. This is scheduler. Now what is the role of scheduler here? The scheduler will schedule the working of these devices on the basis of their peak hours or normal hours. Because what we want to optimize our electricity bill with the help of this smart meter and scheduler. So for example, there is a laundry machine, there is a microwave oven, there is oven. So what could be there? Like laundry machine, there is no need to run laundry machine in morning. It can be started in evening also, if morning is the peak load and the prices are high at morning. So scheduler will decide that which particular device should be on at which time, if it is not necessary. If it is necessary, then there is no issue. But if it is not necessary, and if a person is out from home and he has given responsibility to scheduler to schedule all these things according to the requirement, so scheduler will schedule the the functioning of these devices on the basis of load availability, on the basis of time. When there is peak load, it will not on a particular device. If there is normal load, if there is a minimum load, it will switch on that particular device. So it will optimize our electricity bill. Again, this flowchart is showing that particular concept. Here we have smart meter. Smart meter is connected with the network access point because it is taking data from the network access point also in form of load. Where is the when is the load is peak, when is the load is minimum, when is the load is balanced. So all this information should be sent to the smart meter also. Then network access points are connected with the power company. Power company is monitoring our power consumption, and with the help of smart meter, what we can do, we can save our electricity bill. This is the smart energy meter IoT architecture. Here is our bill. It has some IoT device, some node, some gateway, which will it has an IoT device which has some sensors, and sensors are sending information to the gateway, and the information received at gateway will be transferred to the cloud and then to the end user. So whatever smart meter is reading will be sent to the user's screen also, and user can check at regular interval that how the electricity bill is increasing at his home or it is at his office. Now the very important question that comes in our mind is that why we are talking about IoT now? Is it a new term or is it a new concept? Because the functioning of IoT resembles with the term embedded systems. In embedded systems, what we do, we try to make hardware intelligent with the help of software. We embed some sort of software in hardware to make it intelligent or to automate its functioning. So in IoT also we are embedding some sort of hardware in form of sensors, in form of gateway for making it intelligent. But it is gaining very much importance in last 10 to 12 years due to the availability of cheap sensors. Nowadays sensors are available at very cheap rates, and their use is also very simple. Then cheap bandwidth, the network bandwidth has been very low now. It is available at very low rates now, so everyone can use internet now. Earlier days it was very costly to use internet. Then the very important factor is cloud solution. So the engineers have provided a lot of cloud based solutions for implementing IoT projects like IoT platforms. So IoT platforms are providing you all the facilities. They have hide all the complexity that earlier was required to design website, to interface it with the device. So there is no need of all those things. You have already available platforms. The only thing is to configuration of the particular platform, and you can design your IoT device. The next important factor is computational facility, again in form of cloud and in form of we have lot of computational facility because IoT is generating huge amount of data. So we need a computational facility which can store that data, which can process the data. So it is being possible with the help of this availability of enhanced computational facility. Then we have IPv6, which is providing huge number of IP address, because as we are talking about connected devices, there are around 50 million connected devices. So we need that number of IP addresses also. So it is being possible with the help of IPv6. Now we are discussing about smart grid. So what is smart grid? Smart grid is a electricity network. It is a pool of electricity power. Now, and smart grid means the intelligent electricity network. It means it can take decision, it can take input. Then only we will say that the grid is smart. So automatically monitor and manage grid using smart meters and other smart devices, gain insights about usage for better efficiency. This should be the features of any smart grid. Like smart grid can do load balancing, it can do accident prevention, theft detection, and reduce manpower and revenue losses. Okay, two-way flow of electricity and information. In a smart grid, there could be two-way flow of electricity and information. Smart grid, the components are smart appliances, smart meters, smart substations. This diagram is showing the functioning of smart grid. Here, for example, we are starting from here. So the smart house waits for the price of electricity to drop, as I have discussed in earlier slide also. On the basis of price of electricity, the smart grid will on a particular device at a particular time. Then it turns on the dishwasher and starts charging the car, because charging the car is not a very crucial task. It can be done in night also, it can be done in evening time also. So it, depending on the prices of electricity, the smart grid will schedule the switch on and off of the devices. In the morning when electricity cost peak, the house shuts off the refrigerator. So it will schedule the functioning of all the devices on the basis of electricity rates. Then For example, due to the lightning, there is a shutdown in a particular substation. So the smart grid takes it out of the loop. So smart grid will take out that particular substation from the loop. So it will prevent other particular substations to from that particular harm. It will not harm to the substations. So it is being possible due to the smart grid only. A dozen smart microgrids immediately access stored electricity in homes and cars and all power from solar panels and windmills, distributing it where it's needed most. No services are interrupted. Okay, so the another main feature of a smart grid is that it can also take energy, can take signal from other devices also. For example, if there is some solar panel and it is generating some sort of energy, so a smart grid can take energy from that particular sources also. So it is a two-way communication. It is not only giving power, it is taking power also, and the whatever power that it is taking from other devices can be compensated by updating their bills. It means it will reduce that amount from their bill. So smart grid will work in on two-way communication. Here, the electric car starts charging automatically at night when electricity is least expensive. At 7 a.m., the house tells the car to stop charging and use its battery to power the coffee maker in the kitchen. Okay. Here, solar cells and windmills light up a school. For example, we have installed a setup of solar cell at a school, and noon if there is no use of that solar energy at a school, so that particular energy can be given to the smart grid, and whatever would be the reward for that particular energy would be given in form of the reduced electricity bill of that particular school. So smart grid will provide control and communication with the help of microcontrollers, with the help of computers. The control is driven by data received from sensors, and the computer will be autonomous, which will support new technologies and equipments. Basic applications of smart grids: they improve the adaptiveness of transmission lines, quick recovery after any sudden breakage, disturbance in lines and feeders, cost reduction. As we have already discussed, that cost can be reduced by proper planning of device execution, proper two-way communication of energy, reduction of peak demand. It is very important factor that can be managed with the help of smart grid. They possess the ability to be integrated with renewable energy sources on a large level, which leads to sharing of load and reduction of load on large scale. Here is the use case of smart grid. We have implemented an IoT project based on a smart grid. So objectives of this work is to construct a smart meter for real-time gathering of data, monitoring and control of smart grid, and to incorporate automatic routing feature in the distribution. The main purpose of this project is that we have designed this project on the concept that if the load is less than 40 volt, it should work on DC DC voltage, and if load is more than 40 volt, then it should work on AC voltage. So here we are presenting specifications like DC sources will be actually we are considering here solar panel, and for implementing the functioning of solar panel we are using here DC source. Then AC source we are considering it as a thermal power plant. We are using Node MCU ESP8266 Wi-Fi wireless module for sending retrieved information to the cloud. Then relay switches are used for controlling the function. Then current sensor, 5 ampere range current sensor is used for sensing the current range. This is the diagram of microcontroller controller unit that we have used. In implementation, AC and DC sources are connected to a switching relay. Then this ESP8266 is used for performing calculations and operations as the instruction given into the 2 by programs. current sensor is connecting to the node MCU, because whatever current it will sense will be processed with the help of this node MCU. Data sent by the current sensor will be sent in the cloud by Wi-Fi module installed in node MCU, which can be monitored in the ThingSpeak API platform. The platform that we have used is ThingSpeak API. It provides some features in free, so we can use it for some small projects, as well as voltage power factor can also be monitored. ThingSpeak platform also shows the power consumption and pricing. When current goes beyond certain limit, it gives the feedback to the node MCU and it shifts the supply from DC to AC. So if power is less than 40 watts, so power supply should be from DC, and if it is more than 40 watt, then supply should be from AC. The load may be any bulb or charging of or mobile phone. The readings of voltage, current, power, and power factor is updated to ThingSpeak cloud platform in 1 second interval. ThingSpeak API converts data into graphical representation with respect to time. So we can see the results in form of graphs also with the help of this ThingSpeak. Data can be monitored using mobile or desktop from remote location. The control is automatic, so no manual intervention required. Now for testing purpose of this project, what we did, we used a mobile charger and a laptop. So a normal power demand is set at 40 watt. More than 40 watt, it represents peak demand, and below 40 watt represents the minimum demand. So if demand is below 40 watts, so it can work on solar panel, and if it demand is more than 40 watts, so it should be switched to the thermal power plant. That was the concept. So we have tested it by connecting the mobile phone whose charger's rating is 12 volt and 1.5 ampere, which is 18 watt. So the system started working with DC because here the power is less than 40 watt. Then when we connected that particular device with laptop whose power rating is around 60 watt, then it switches to the AC supply. Fan having rating of 70 watt system initially was in DC supply. After connecting the fan, system shifts to the AC supply. So it has been shown the switching of supply as per the power requirement. These are the results which are showing the currents, power. The field 1 is showing the current, field 2 is showing the power, field 3 is showing the power factor, and field 4 is showing the time stamp. So these are the results that are generated with that smart grid project. These are the results again in form of power consumption, in form of power utilization. Now we have discussed about it, what is IoT, what are its different applications. We have discussed one project also. Now IoT has some challenges, and the very, very important challenge is its security. So what are the various challenges of IoT security and how it can be dealt? So the challenges to secure IoT deployments are: existing security technologies are playing an important role in mitigating IoT risks. Like we are using encryption, decryption. So these technologies are okay, but not sufficient. The goal is to get data in secure manner at right time in right format. So IoT is facing a lot of issues related to security, and these challenges are due to the lack of standard authentication system for IoT edge devices. There is no standard authentication system which should be used at IoT edge device. Lack of security standards for IoT platforms. Security is a big challenge due to the fact that many things use a simple processors and operating system. Because what we are using in IoT, we are using a simple processor which has some which is taking input from sensors and sending data to the cloud. So it is a tough task to embed enhanced security at this level. So these are some challenges which are associated with IoT security. Mirai attack, it has been done in 2016. It is a very huge malware attack, and it scans the internet for IoT devices that run on the ARC processor. ARC is a RISC processor. And this processor runs a stripped down version of the Linux operating system if the default username and password combo is not changed. Mirai is able to log in to the device and infect it. It turns them into a network of remotely controlled bots. This network of bots, called a botnet, is often used to launch distributed denial of service attacks. So in 2016, there was a huge malware attack on all IoT devices, and even all the known industries like Paytm, PayPal, they all were get affected with this particular attack. All indications suggest that countless IoT devices that power everyday technology like closed circuit cameras and smartphone devices were hijacked by the malware and used against the servers. So in this attack, all these devices were hijacked and they were used for against the server. So actually the main reason behind these issues is that currently the IoT is working on the concept of centralized model. So it has many challenges like all devices are identified, authenticated and connected through cloud servers that take huge processing and storage capacity. Okay, so because it is using centralized server, so these are the challenges. Connections between devices have to exclusively go through the internet, even if they happen to be a few feet apart. Okay, yeah. Although this model has connected generic computing devices for decades and will continue to support small-scale IoT networks, but they will not be able to respond to the growing needs of the huge IoT ecosystem of the tomorrow. Presently, it is okay, IoT devices are working, but as we think that in future more IoT devices will be there, so this particular centralized model will not work, will not be a good choice. Existing IoT solutions are expensive because of the high infrastructure and maintenance cost associated with centralized clouds, large server farms, and networking equipment. It is enhancing cost also because everything should go into that particular centralized server. The sheer amount of communications that will have to be handled when there are tens of billions of IoT devices will increase those costs substantially. Cloud servers will remain a bottleneck and point of failure that can disrupt the entire network. If a particular cloud server will get fail, our entire network will get fail due to the centralized concept. So what could be the solution? The solution could be decentralizing IoT networks. A decentralized approach to IoT networking would solve many of the issues discussed. As we have adopting a standardized peer-to-peer communication model to process the hundreds of billions of transmissions between devices will significantly reduce the cost associated with installing and maintaining large centralized data centers and will distribute computation and storage needs across the billions of devices that form IoT networks. This will prevent failure in any single node in a network from bringing the entire network to a halting collapse. If a particular network will fail, so the devices that are connected to that particular network will get affected, whole network will not get affected. Decentralized approach must support three foundational functions. One is peer-to-peer messaging, distributed file sharing, autonomous device coordination. These are the three features that a particular decentralized system should use. However, establishing peer-to-peer communication will present its own set of challenges. Okay, as we are saying that we can shift to the decentralized approach, but it also has some challenges. And again, the main challenge is security. So the solution could be generated with the help of blockchain. The blockchain approach. Blockchain is the distributed ledger technology has emerged as an object of intense interest in the tech industry and beyond. Blockchain technology offers a way of recording transactions or any digital interaction in a way that is designed to be secure, transparent, highly resistant, and efficient. As such, it carries the possibility of disrupting industries and enabling new business models. Actually, the main idea behind blockchain is that it works on the concept of distributed ledger. It means there is not a single owner of a particular database. There are multiple participants in a particular database, and the decision making would be the basis. Decision making would be on the basis of views of majority participants. There is not a single user. We can do any kind of updation in database. We can corrupt the database. So this is the main idea of blockchain, which makes it very much secure. The technology is young and changing very rapidly. Widespread commercialization is still needed. Researchers are working continuously to make it more adaptable and user-friendly. Now, what is blockchain? Blockchain is a database that maintains a continuously growing set of data records. It is distributed in nature, meaning that there is no master computer holding the entire chain. Rather, the participating nodes have a copy of the chain. So here we have multiple participants, which they all will own that particular database. There is not a single user who will be the responsible for whole database. A blockchain consists of two types of elements. The first element is transactions, which are the actions created by the participants in the systems. Transactions means the updation in data or inclusion of new data. And the second component that it has is blocks. Block means block which records these transactions and make sure they are in the correct sequence and have not been tampered with. So the main role is played by the blocks, which keeps the data and which keeps it secure. So what are some advantages of blockchain? The big advantage of blockchain is that every participant can see the blocks and the transactions stored in them. Again, as I have already discussed, there are multiple participants and every participant is aware about all the activities that is being executed at that particular chain. This doesn't mean everyone can see the actual content of your transaction. Okay. For example, I am the participant of a particular blockchain, so I don't want to share. Don't want to share my data with the other one. So what I can do, I can encrypt my data with the help of some encryption algorithm by protecting it with my private key. But all other participants will be aware that I have added something there, and if a third party want to change that particular data or want to temper that data, so it won't be possible, because all are observing the data and all editing in that particular data is possible with the consent of all other participants only. So this is the main idea behind the blockchain. A blockchain is decentralized, so there is no single authority that can approve the transactions or set specific rules to have transactions accepted. Okay, so the third party cannot easily add a new transaction or can temper the transaction, because all authority should agree to add that particular transaction or to edit that particular transaction. That means there's a huge amount of trust involved, since all the participants in the network have to reach a consensus to accept transactions. It means every transaction will be accepted on the majority basis only. Most importantly, it's secure. The database can only be extended and previous records cannot be changed. At least there's a very high cost if someone wants to alter previous records. Previous records can be altered, but at very high cost. It takes a lot of calculation, a lot of time. So it is not very easy to tamper blockchain data. How does it work? When someone wants to add a transaction to the chain, all the participants in the network will validate it. They do this by applying an algorithm to the transaction to verify its validity. It means whenever a person, third party, comes to change the data, so all other participants will try to validate it. And how they will validate it? A simple example can be on the basis of voting. For example, there are 5 participants, and 2 are saying that this particular transaction should be added, and 3 are saying this particular transaction should not be added. So if 3 are saying this should not be added, so that particular transaction would not be added. So it would be very difficult for the third party to add unused data or to temper the data which is already stored in the blockchain. What exactly is understood by valid is defined by the blockchain system and can differ between systems. Okay, there may be different rules. Like here I have discussed that there may be a voting rule. So every blockchain can set their own rule. Then it is up to a majority of the participants to agree that the transaction is valid or not valid. A set of approved transactions is then bundled in a block, which gets sent to all the nodes in the network. They in turn validate the new block. Each successive block contains a hash, which is a unique fingerprint of the previous block. So hash is the unique number which is generated for connecting the block. So every block has a hash for other block. That's why it is called connected and it is called chain. Block 1 will have the hash address of block next block, then that next block will have a hash address for then third block. So all blocks are connected with the help of that particular hash number, and that's why it is called chain. Blockchain technology is the missing link to settle privacy and reliability concerns in the Internet of Things. Blockchain technology could perhaps be the silver bullet needed by the IoT industry, because as we have already discussed, Internet of Things has many security issues, but with the help of blockchain technology, these issues can be handled. It can be used in tracking billions of connected devices, enabling the processing of transactions and coordination between devices. This allows for significant saving for IoT industry manufacturers. So this was about the how security can be enhanced in IoT with the help of blockchain. This decentralized approach would eliminate single points of failure. And other advantage of decentralized approach is that if a particular single device gets failure, our network will not get down, creating a more resilient ecosystem for devices to run on. The cryptographic algorithms used by blockchain would make consumer data more private. The data in blocks is tamper-proof and cannot be manipulated by malicious actors because it doesn't exist in any single location, and man-in-the-middle attacks cannot be staged because there is no single thread of communication that can be intercepted. If a third party wants to tamper that particular data, so how many person he will approach? He can approach to the one device, to the two device, but if we have 10 device, if we have 100 device, so it would be very, very difficult for a attacker to tamper the data in blockchain. Blockchain makes trustless peer-to-peer messaging possible and has already proven its worth in the world of financial services through cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. As we all know that financial services are the most crucial services which should be secure. And with the help of blockchain, now currency can be presented in digital form, and that called cryptocurrencies, providing guaranteed peer-to-peer payment services without the need for third-party brokers. Thus, the decentralized, autonomous, and trustless capabilities of the blockchain make it an ideal component to become a foundational element of IoT solutions. It is no surprise that enterprise IoT technologies have quickly become one of the early adopters of blockchain technology because it is very much essential to enhance IoT security, and it can be done only with the help of blockchain. In an IoT network, the blockchain can keep an immutable record of the history of smart devices. This feature enables the autonomous functioning of smart devices without the need for centralized authority. As a result, the blockchain opens the door to a series of IoT scenarios that were remarkably difficult or even impossible to implement without it. One of the most exciting capabilities of the blockchain is the ability to maintain a duly decentralized trusted ledger of all transactions occurring in a network. This capability is essential to enable the many compliance and regulatory requirement of industry IoT applications without the need to rely on a centralized model. So this was all about the IoT. What is IoT? What are its components? What are the various applications, application domain where we can implement IoT work, and how we can enhance the security with the help of blockchain, how blockchain can help in enhancing security of IoT devices. So thank you and have a great day. If you have any query, please ask.
Ma'am, good morning, ma'am. I have a query.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Ma'am, I just want to understand you talked about the edge layer, right?
Edge layer. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to know where that edge layer lies. I mean, I wanted to say that whether it will be near to the IoT device,
Yes,
it will
yes,
be
yes,
at
yes,
separate
yes.
place or
Yes,
where.
it would be near to the IoT device.
So if it is a case of a smart home,
Yes.
suppose smart home, then where we will keep the edge layer, I mean that edge layer, the entire functioning and all, where that device will be there for edge layer, and I mean what will be the configuration of that device?
Actually, it would be software configuration based on the programming. You can do programming at microcontroller level, where you can do the filtering of data, or you can use some software at your own device. Instead of sending all data to the cloud, so you can do some filtering at your software, which can be embedded to the that particular microcontroller, like at the Raspberry Pi itself or at the other microcontroller.
In that case, ma'am, what will be the difference between the gateway and this thing,
Actually,
edge layer?
gateway has limited facility. The role of gateway is to only provide the communication, to take data from sensor and to convert it into the form that can be accepted by the network and send it to the network. But in edge layer, we are enhancing little bit more facility by filtering the data, by pre-processing the data. So this is the main difference between node gateway and that mm, edge layer.
So edge layer can also be easily hacked, na? It is also a central point of
Yes, 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 yes. It can be
It's
easily hacked.
centralized, na ma'am? It's
Yes,
edge
yes,
layer is
yes, yes, yes,
centralized, na?
yes, yes. That's why we are discussing about blockchain. At every point, IoT devices can be hacked. That's why we are discussing about blockchain. So it should be we have to learn the technologies, that how can we embed blockchain in the IoT, and how we can make our data secure.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, we talked about IoT and its integration with blockchain. As you know,
Yes,
in
yes,
IoT, we are having a limited amount of resources because that most of the devices are constrained devices, and mostly we use
yes,
sensors and all that.
yes, yes,
Ma'am,
yes.
ma'am, is there any such kind of platform or such simulator where we can test our IoT network using blockchain, or is there any integration platform which will support both IoT as well as blockchain?
No, not exactly now. We have to.
And
We
then
have to. Yes, yes,
we have to implement the network from the
yes,
scratch.
yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Yes. Any other question?
Dear participants, you can ask your questions. I think there is no questions, ma'am. I think people have understood it. And thank you for the wonderful session, ma'am. You've explained very clearly about IoT and the basics and how blockchain plays a role in that IoT.
Yes.
And once again, thank you for joining with us, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, and you can lead the session, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thanks for inviting.
Thank you. Dear participants, please stay on the line. I will share the feedback form in just a minute. Please fill the feedback form. Based upon that only we can calculate attendance, because the Google Meet is showing different names, so short names of your versions, which creates a lot of confusions in putting your attendance. So fill the feedback form properly, and with that only we can make an attendance. Yesterday I've given the feedback form, and session number 2 and session number 3, there are around 13 to 14 participants who are not filled the feedback form, and based upon that you'll be marked as absent. So evening I have sent a PDF file also regarding your attendance. I think most of them verified, and you reported me that these sessions you are absent, you were present, and you also sent me the proof for presenting in the session. I have changed that again to the original position. That means that you have been marked as present based upon your feedback and your session details. So today also I'll be sending you the feedback form, and the feedback form is posted in your group. Sorry, it has been posted now in the chat box. Kindly fill it within 15 minutes. Do not leave the session. It won't be posted again. So you fill the session and then you can leave, have a break, join back at 11:30. Once again repeating, the feedback form is posted on the chat box. It will be posted only in the chat box, and you have to fill it here directly.